We live in a learning community because of the connections and experiences that we have here are unique not only to Canada, but to the entire world. Alvin Toffler said that the illiterates of the 21st century won't be those who can't read or write, but those who are unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's my opinion that we have to go through a similar process in order to get an authentic understanding of life in this region. My fascination with learning started when I was about 5 years old. I was drawing a picture of fire. The teacher told me that I used the wrong colors. It was at that point that I became very interested in this concept of learning. But what is learning? Well, it's about acquiring skills and abilities to change our performance. And the way in which we go about learning is through different media. We can learn through books, television, newspapers, the internet, and our personal experience. Marshall McLuhan said, "The medium is the message." And what he meant by that is that the different media that we use to learn have an impact on the way in which we perceive reality. It shapes it and transforms it. Well, in the 21st century, the internet is the largest classroom on the planet and has become one of the primary sources of our learning. But if you were learning about this region on the internet, what are some of the things that you think you might find if you did a search? It's possible you may come across words like this to describe this region. Painting a picture as though we live in some type of dystopia from a Dickens novel. If you're searching for images, you may come across this. But what does this image really teach us? And what can we learn from it? Is it telling the whole story? Or is there something else? In order to understand this story, we have to look deeper. And this is where we begin the stage of unlearning. To unlearn means to discard information that is irrelevant and outdated. Information that could be entirely false. It's about seeing beyond the surface and looking deeper. In the study of phenomenology, it's called going into the lived experience. My learning journey in this region started in about 2002. I had 3 different options. I could teach English in Dubai, in Dalian, or Fort Chipewyan. I was drawn to Fort Chipewyan because I wanted to get a real sense of what was going on in my own backyard. I would have never thought it would have been possible that I'd have such a personally transformational learning experience in that community. Howard Gardner talks about the concept of naturalistic learning and naturalistic intelligence. And I can say that I met quite a few people in that community who possessed that skill to a high abundance, who had a deep understanding of the natural world there. That I met with elders who had extensive knowledge of the traditional, historical, cultural, and linguistic background of that area. And I also learned that I was living inside a highly connected community where people really came together in tragedy and in triumph. Another discovery I made is the incredible beauty of the landscape in that area. It was truly a spiritual experience seeing that. One learning experience I had that really stands out was during a trip up Lake Athabasca. We pulled over on this beach and set up camp. And one of the people who was there, who had a lot of experience, he's lived in the wilderness extensively, said that he was going to start a fire without any matches. I became really enthusiastic. I sprinted back to the boat to get my video camera. I ran back to the camp and turned it on, only to see him reach into his pocket and pull out a lighter. I had to do a little bit of learning, I think. But it was that type of laughter really characterizes the learning experience that I had in that region. New opportunities presented themselves too, and my wife and I made the trip to Fort McMurray, where once again, our preconceptions were challenged by our experience. We discovered that Fort McMurray as well is a highly connected community, that people come together and make change happen. I discovered that this is a place that people gravitate to really transform their lives. That we're a community that is surrounded by nature and innovation. That the myth of the greedy and evil corporation doesn't persist here. That in fact our companies are a pillar in the community. But still, there was other issues that persisted in terms of this learning experience. And one of them is this: oil sands. And the reason why I put this here is it's a piece of oil sands that I picked up about 200 meters from my own backyard to illustrate that we're really surrounded by this substance. It's a naturally occurring thing. To some, it may be considered controversial. But to far many more, it has served as a catalyst to help those who are in the lowest depths of poverty and despair to truly improve their lives. And it's safe to say it has helped stabilize our national economy. So once we go through these experiences, we get a deeper insight into what's truly happening here. And once we achieve that stage, this is when we can begin to relearn. And relearn is really about transformation. It's about changing ourselves from within and changing the larger society. It's not about dreaming or just imagination. It's about actualizing, putting those thoughts and concepts into practice. And once we do that, we have a very different vision of this region, where these are some of the words that depict what it means to live here. That we can see beyond the surface and truly engage in the potential that we can find. We start to make new discoveries and new insights. And we find that our strength economically and as a community really doesn't come from oil sands at all. It comes from something far more fundamental. It's the political and economic freedom that draws people here. We are in the history-making moments of this region. We are going through a massive transformation. And we are just on the cusp of, again, going through that process where we will have to learn, unlearn, and relearn what it means to live in this region. Thank you.